Hi, this is Lou Vanni, and I'm going to do a sort of a story or monologue about my childhood. An interesting story, I find it's interesting. Took place when I was in kindergarten. Now, I came from an Italian family, so I wasn't fluent in English, and I didn't go to a daycare, so I stayed primarily at home during my early years, about the time until I was 5 years old. And I was raised by my mother, and my younger sister was there, so we predominantly spoke Italian, so just keep that in mind as I tell this story. It wasn't exactly perfect in English. So, one of my earliest moments that I can recall in kindergarten class, our teacher at the time, an elderly woman in her, I guess, her mid to late 60s, or even early 70s, gave us a project that we had to draw what we ate for dinner and lunch. So I happened to eat lunch the day before, because it was a Sunday, I believe, at my house, so I wasn't at school, and I had pizza, so I decided to draw a pizza. Now, I don't know if it's true with some Mediterranean families or Italian Canadian or Italian American families, but when my mother made pizza, and it was amazing, by the way, she made it in sort of like a cookie sheet or a container that was rectangular in shape. So when I drew the pizza, I drew it as a rectangle, sort of like this. Hopefully you can see this with my bowling ball type pepperoni drawing here. It looks something like this, akin or similar to this that I'm holding up in front of you. So I drew a rectangular pizza, and I also drew a bowl of soup. And for supper that day, I drew another bowl of soup, but differentiated it because it was a minestra or a minestrone. So we handed in our projects, and the teacher came up to me and she goes, "Class, I just want to show you something." She goes, "First of all, Luigi, what is this?" And I go, "Pizza." She goes, "That's a pizza?" She goes, "There's no such thing as a square pizza. Who ever heard of a square pizza? What a silly boy. Look at this, class. He drew a square pizza." Everyone knows that a pizza's round. And when we cut a pizza, it's a triangle. So why did you draw this square pizza? So I looked at her. I mean, I was trembling. I was nervous. I'm just a 5-year-old kid who can't even converse properly in English. And I was like, well, what have you got to say for yourself? And quite a few people in the class were laughing, enjoying this, maybe nervously, these other kids, because they didn't know what to make of this. And I just started welling up and getting nervous, and I started sniffling. So she said I was very bad. She told me, "I am very cross with you. Off you go to the naughty chair." Now, the naughty chair was the worst thing that could happen to you in our class. I mean, it was the ultimate punishment. You were sequestered in a lonely corner in the classroom, in this tiny, tiny little faraway corner in this wooden chair, and you had to sit there while everyone looked at you while the lesson was going on. So it was actually the first time I was in the naughty chair, and I believe it was the last time, and I was mortified, and I was crying, and she told the class, "Do not pay attention to him," and throughout the day she kept mentioning that there's no such thing as a square pizza. Another thing that also seemed to disturb her or perturb her was the fact that I had soup twice. She goes, "Who eats soup twice? You can't have soup for lunch, and you can't have soup for supper." But I tried to explain it was a different soup, but this just did not work on this woman. So that's my story. But the interesting thing is she kept alluding to the fact that it was a square pizza, that there's no such thing as a square pizza. Naughty, naughty. But the pizza was actually rectangular. So she was actually wrong. So there you go. Mortified by a square slash pizza, maybe a rectangular pizza. I'm not sure. So that's my story. I basically spent the afternoon in the naughty chair, and I was very, very thankful that we never, ever had to do that project again. So one of my early childhood memories. I hope you enjoy this story or this monologue, whatever you want to call it. I do intend to do different things, so if you're interested in my channel, please subscribe. There's some poetry on there, Elvis album reviews. I'm going to do monologues, different characters, hopefully time permitting. I thank you for listening.